Shalom, saints. All praises be to the Most High, the master, owner, and ruler of Israel, who is, who was, and is to come. My thought I seem to share with you is the hour of temptation, the song of anxiety. And the song in Revelation that no man can learn but the 144,000 is that song of understanding this Holy Bible. So I did title this The Hour of Temptation, Song of Anxiety, and you'll see why I named it Song of Anxiety. This hour of temptation is going to come upon us all. Every last one of them. No one is excluded. This hour of temptation will separate the sheep from the goat, the clean from the unclean. This hour of temptation will separate the wicked from the righteous. So I like to begin in Matthew 26. And I'm going to read this off. This is Matthew 26, starting with verse 36. Matthew 26, verse 36. Then cometh Jesus with them into a place called Gethsemane, and said unto his disciples, sit here while I go and pray yonder. And he took with him Peter and two sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Then said he unto them, my soul is exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here, and watch with me. When the Most High say, watch with me, he's speaking of pray. Not to like watch for the enemy. They might sneak up on us, blow the trumpet. No. Because if you remember, he was with a lot of enemies. He was amongst a lot of enemies. And multiple times they tried to kill him. Throw him off a cliff, stone him, grab him, try to beat him to death. And he escaped in the midst of them. Is that right? So now I'm going to just jump to, let me read verse 39. And he went a little farther, fell on his face, and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. This is the hour of temptation. This is what King David spoke of in the Psalms 95, and we'll read that together. This is the hour of temptation that will come upon every last one of us. So he said, not as my will, let this cup pass, but thine will. Now, he know he was going to drink this cup of affliction before he even came down here. He knew that how he was going to even die and where he was going to go after he died, like no other man. So with that, scriptures must be fulfilled of what King David wrote, a man after Yah's own heart. So now I'm going to skip. He went 3 times, bleeding with sweat. And I'm going to jump to verse 49. And forthwith he came to Jesus and said, Hail, Master. and kissed him. Speaking of Judas. And Jesus said unto him, Friend, wherefore you come from? Then came they and laid hands on Jesus and took him. And behold, one of them, which was with Jesus, stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck a servant of the high priest and smote off his ear. It was that same night Peter told the Lord, I'll go to prison with you and I'll die with you. No, you're not, Peter. You're going to deny me. We all know that Peter denied the Lord, but you know what? This is Peter here, and we're going to read that account. They're going to call out his name. Peter ain't no punk. He ain't no coward. You know, I heard people even compared him to Judas. No. Peter just proved himself. But I want to speak on that hour of temptation. When that spirit come upon you, that spirit of depression, that spirit of abandonment. That's how Peter felt. Let's read this. John 18. John chapter 18. Verse 10. This is the same account, but it gives us a little bit more information. It's John chapter 18, verse 10. Then Simon Peter, having a sword, they identified who had the sword. Matthew didn't rat him out. John did. John pointed the finger as Peter. Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and smote the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. The servant name was Malchus. Well, we know the rest of the story. The Lord healed his ear and they took him. But my point of bringing this out was that Peter wasn't no punk. That spirit of abandonment, when they took him, they took his life. Peter believed that the redemption was here, which it was. But to Peter's surprise, he believed that they was going to take over right then and there, kick the Romans out, rule the world. It wasn't time. He felt abandonment. He even felt betrayed. Anxiety came and overwhelmed him. He felt all those things. Probably suicidal. He felt all those things. Nonetheless, he held in there. He denied the Lord 3 times, but he did prove himself. That was that hour of temptation. That was that song of anxiety. We'll just read Peter denied him. Peter denied him. You know, he a coward. He wasn't. Because I'm speaking of a spirit that's going to come upon you. That's why we need to watch and pray. This is a warning. When this hour of temptation come upon us, don't be big-headed. I'm going to be raptured off. I'm going to the wilderness. I ain't going to go through none of that. No. Expect the worst and hope for the best. This is a warning. The hour of temptation is coming upon you. Watch and pray. Let me read Luke. Luke 22. Luke 22. Verse 54. This is the part when they took the Lord and Peter is about to deny him. Then took they him, led him, and brought him into the high priest's house, and Peter followed afar off. And when they had kindled a fire in the midst of the hall, and was set down together, Peter sat down among them. But a certain maid beheld him as he sat by the fire, and earnestly looked upon him, and said, This man was also with him. And he denied him, saying, Woman, I knew him not. And after a little while, another saw and said, so he went through this 3 times. Verse 61 says, And the Lord turned and looked upon Peter, and Peter remembered what the word of the Lord, how he had said unto him, Before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice. And Peter went out and wept bitterly. In verse 62. Peter went out and wept bitterly. He cried out, realizing what he did. He was down at first, drew his sword, cut the high priest's servant ear off, went for his jugular, missed it. Peter was down. But look at you, when that spirit of depression come upon you, there's nothing you can do about that. You can't shake it. Can't shake that off. You know, you cannot shake anxiety off. And medicine is not going to help you. How did it come upon him? Because he didn't watch and pray. He slept. He slept. Through the hour of temptation, he slept. We cannot slumber in this time. How can you sleep in this time? By going back to the cares of this world. That's how you sleep. That's all you're worried about, the cares of this world. Let's see what's in Mark. Mark 14. Mark 14. I think this is another account. 50 to 52. Verse 50. And they all forsook him and fled. So when they took the Most High, they ran. They all ran. Verse 51. And there followed him a certain young man, having a linen cloth cast about his naked body. So when they all ran, this is all the same account, that same night. When they left him, the high priest's servants, they raped him. They stripped off the Lord's clothes. But look what happened. Notice this. I don't know if anyone really noticed this. This is Mark 14. They all got different accounts. I mean, the same account, but one have a little bit more information than the other. So this is the account of Mark. And they all forsook him and fled. And there followed him a certain young man. There was somebody following the Lord as they was leading him from the magistrate. And they all forsook him, but there was a certain young man following him, having a linen cloth cast about his naked body. So this young man that was following the Lord had a linen cloth wrapped around his body. And a young man laid hold on him. And he left the linen cloth and fled from them naked. The Messiah was naked. They raped him. This young man, which was an angel, because we know according to the Holy Book, angels wore linen cloths. They clothed themselves with linen. Aaron and the Levitical priests had to wear linen. So this young man followed the Messiah. He was wrapped himself up with linen. And when he got close to him, he laid hands on him. The Holy Book says, and took the linen cloth off himself and wrapped him. And then he ran, so he wouldn't be naked. That's Mark 14, 50 through 52. But let's go to Psalms 95, and I want you to read this with me. And the funny thing about Psalms 95 is the same account in Hebrews. Same account in Hebrews. So this is Psalms 95. It's going to be 8 through 10. Psalms 95. Psalms 95. 8 through 10. Harden not your heart as in the provocation, and as in the day of temptation in the wilderness, and as in the day of temptation in the wilderness. It was a day, the hour of temptation in the wilderness, where everybody fell except Joshua and Caleb. Let's read verse 9. When your fathers tempted me, proved me, and saw my work. You know, it's like that hour of temptation. We tempted Abaya. We tempted his holy angels. When your fathers tempted me, proved me, and saw my work. The work that our ancestors seen was the miracles, and yet denied it. Peter and the rest of us was under that blood covenant of the ancestors in the wilderness. Generational curse. But thanks be to the Most High, Peter broke it. Hallelujah. He broke that generational curse, which is going to make it easier for you and I when this hour of temptation is going to come upon us. And we see somebody's failing already. Huh? 40 years long was I grieved with this generation, with that generation. But we are that generation that seek thy face, O Jacob, Salah. Is that right? 40 years long was I grieved with this nation, and said, it is a people that do err in their heart, and they have not known my ways. Hallelujah. I'm going to go to this last place, Revelation. Revelation chapter 3. Revelation chapter 3, verse 8 through 12. See, this is Revelation chapter 3. Verse 8 through 12. Wait a minute. Do I want Revelation chapter 3? Let's start with verse 9. Let's start with verse 9. Okay. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Verse 10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth. You see that? Do you see that? This hour of temptation is coming upon the earth. And with that comes, if you take this mark, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts. But if you don't take this mark, let's finish reading. Verse 11. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take your crown. Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out. And I will write upon the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, which is the New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my God, and I will write upon him my new name. Hallelujah. Your name, his name gonna be in you. The city is gonna be in you. And then his new name is gonna be in you, which is gonna be your name. Hallelujah. So please send me comments, words of edification, words of correction, or whatever the case may be. Send it to Ancient, Anchorage, Alaska, P.O. Box 140844, zip 99514. It's Ancient, Anchorage, Alaska, 140844, P.O. Box. Zip is 99514. Hallelujah. Be blessed. Shalom to the saints.